Joining us now on Six News, Stuart Bonds. He is One Nation's candidate for the seat of Hunter in New South Wales. That's a seat currently held by Labor's Dan Repacholi. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, look, it's not often we talk about a One Nation House of Representatives campaign in the same sentence as it having a realistic shot. And you have, I think, more than a realistic shot, both in polls and past results, which is quite extraordinary. Why do you think that the people of Hunter, I don't just mean in some of the opinion polling, but clearly in past election results, have taken to your campaign and to One Nation?
Look, I think the reality is the Labor Party of today is not the Labor Party of our parents' era, right? It's not your Bob Hawke's Labor Party. They don't stand up for the worker anymore. What they're standing up for is the deindustrialization of the country. They have become an inner city elitist party. And what that means is for us people that are out in the few industrial areas that are left in the country, they are abandoning us. They're actually putting in policies that are destructive to our way of life. And the Hunter up here is an extremely unique seat in its sort of compression of your agricultural sort of setup, where we've got a lot of farming, a lot of cattle farming, and there's even some sheep in the upper Hunter. And then you go down into the wine region, but also we have the largest group of coal mines in Australia and the largest coal export terminal in the world in Newcastle. And the bulk of those mines are in my seat, the federal seat of Hunter. So that's why the Labor Party's been so strong here for so long, because they've had the union movement, which traditionally supported the Labor Party because they supported the workers. Now, the Labor Party has moved away from the worker, and One Nation is seen as the new hope, I guess, to save these people's jobs, mine included.
Obviously, there's elements with One Nation. Granted, Pauline Hanson's own personal support, gains attention. But from what I understand, and look, I'm obviously not in the Hunter, but you've obviously had multiple election runs here. Have you found this time that a lot of that name recognition that minor party candidates hope to build up is already there for you?
Yeah, look, I mean, that is a 100% the hardest thing as a candidate in a minor party is getting people to know who you are, because in America they obviously treat their politics like a sport, right? And a lot of their the guys that are running are treated like heroes. In Australia we don't care about our politicians. A lot of politicians walk around the seat. They come to visit. No one has any idea who they are. So it's really hard to get people just to know that you are a candidate and that you are running. So yes, definitely having those couple of runs before has helped. But doing so well in the 2019 election against Joel Fitzgibbon, when he had a 16.5% margin, and he ended up taken down to about a 2.5% margin, 14% swing, largest swing against any Labor member at that time. It was brutal. And some of the booths in this area swung against them 28%. Just massive swings. I think there's 7,500 voting booths. And I think we had 28 of the top 50 worst booths for Labor were in the Hunter. So that was the start of this. It was really late. The groundwork was laid in 2019.
You mentioned in your first answer, obviously, mining and coal mining is a huge part of this electorate, and it's something that you've been campaigning on significantly. We've seen in recent times that some mines have been given, these short-term extensions. Do you think that, and look, obviously, you might just be one crossbencher up there depending on the results at this federal election, but do you think you're going to have enough influence, or are you hoping to have enough influence to actually change federal government policy, Labor or coalition, to stop advocacy of potential closures, or I know One Nation's against things like net zero, etc.
Yeah, and the reality is they are going to have to change course. It's not a whether they want to or not. Just reality is going to smack them in the face. They want to win elections, and you cannot win elections if you are destroying your citizens' hopes and dreams, right? And future prosperity and your children's jobs. And they say, look, our net zero policies have nothing to do with these businesses closing down, which is absolutely ridiculous, and it's a bold-faced lie. And they say things like this, and people are starting to wake up. They're like, you are lying, because my work is telling me one thing, and then I've got you, politician, telling me that it's the exact opposite. So people are going to wake up. They are waking up, and I'm hoping that I've just got to move the needle a little bit. See, it's not just that this is One Nation's first potentially lower house seat. It's that it's the first minor right party to ever break into the lower house in living memory. No one seems to be able to tell me when the last time that this actually happened, which makes me think it's over 60, 70 years ago, if it has happened at all. So, the left seemed to get a bit of a showing with the Greens and some Teals, and like your Bob Katter, he's sort of he supports the left, he supports Labor, but it hasn't been done on the right before. So if they don't change direction, there are going to be many, many more people like me taking seats that they can't afford to lose. And if their primary vote keeps sliding, we're going to end up with a real European style government. So the beatings are going to continue until morale improves.
Yeah, I would actually be fascinated to look at when you did get a minor right party last, and if we're not including Qatar, as you say, right, it has been significant amount of time at the federal level. In terms of the broader discussion about against Labor here, because obviously you're in a Labor seat, and there are many issues involved, not just related to mining, which we've talked about. Naturally, you think in an election where there might be a swing against the government, or maybe just in this particular seat, okay, naturally it's going to go to the official opposition, the coalition, the Nationals in this seat. Why then would you be the better choice as the opposition to Labor in this seat than the Nationals, who are obviously positioning to get this? And really, at some level, it's almost a three-way race, and the seat could well be determined, as I'm sure you would know, by whether you finish ahead of Nationals or not.
Yeah, and I think you're right there. I think that's a good summation of it. I think if I finish above the Nationals, then it's game on, right? There is a good chance that I will take the seat. It depends where the primary vote of Labor finishes. If they're below, say, 30, 34, if they're in that 34, 35 range, um, look, there's a chance this seat's going to flip. If not, it'll be on an absolute knife's edge. It'll take them, a week or more to count it. The reason why we will be a better choice, and me personally, is because I know what I'm talking about. I am a specialist in this field, in this arena. I own cattle farms. I've built these farms from the ground up. Have worked in the coal mining industry for nearly 20 years. I've built these machines from the ground up as well. I understand the people, I understand the mindset, and I understand the problem. And the problem that the coalition have is they have done a deal with the devil, and they don't know how to get out of it, right? So what I'm hoping is a couple of miracles happen, which is I win this seat and Peter Dutton needs my vote to form government. And then I'm happy to take the bullets, the slings and the arrows, saying that we need to get out of Paris and we need to drop these net zero targets. We need to fix up our baseload power supply, which cannot be renewables. In no sane world can we keep doing what we're doing. It is killing us. It is bankrupting businesses. We are deindustrializing our country for something that is not going to work. And listen, I've got the guts to tell them this. They know it, but they can't say it. The polls move. When the polls move, they'll move, because they're cowards. They should be making the argument, which is the correct argument, which is they know is right, but they will not do it because they are not leaders. They are followers. They are following polls. They are listening to people with political science degrees instead of listening to their own heart, their own people, their own mind.
It is, of course, going to be noted that you weren't with One Nation last election. You ran as an independent and got a decent vote there as well. Can you just explain for those who are unaware, when and why did you leave One Nation, and when was the decision made to actually come back and then run for the election this year?
Look, I had a bit of a barney with the party about some industrial relations legislation that I just didn't feel it was explained correctly to the electorate. I felt like that was going to be hung around the party's neck because the coalition is just absolutely terrible. We're doing anything with the industrial relations, and anytime they touch it, the union jacks up and makes it look like they're trying to throw people out on the street. The coalition need to do a lot better in explaining the legislation, and I felt like a lot of that was going to be hung around my neck because I was in this seat, right? And so I probably didn't handle it as well as I could have. Not probably. I didn't handle it as well as I could have and should have and would now. And listen, it resulted in us parting ways. There was no hard feelings, right? It was just I didn't think they'd left me a position to win the seat. So why continue? Years have passed since that point. Electricity prices have gone up 30%. The coal mines are 3 years closer to closing. The horizon does not look good. And the reality is, mate, this party is the only party that's ever steadfastly stood against net zero without wavering. So when Pauline asked me if I'd think about coming back, I was stoked. And I said, right, well, let's do it, you know? And so I'm back. I'm in the driver's seat, and things are going well, right? The message is cutting through because when you've got the right message, you don't need the money. What these guys are trying to do is sell a terrible message, a hell of a lot of money, but it's still not a good message. So the moment people hear some reality, it just shakes them to their core, right? They go, that guy's right. That's what I say at barbecues, you know? That's what we talk about. So it's a matter of just getting to those people. And that's where your social media campaigns and that sort of thing are great because it allows us to compete on a level playing field. We don't need the access to the big media channels. We don't need to pander to them. We can just talk to the individual like you and I are talking right now.
And by the sound of it, just quickly on that, because it does gain attention that some One Nation MPs have left the party in office over the years, and it's a big if you're elected, but you're happy to stick with One Nation throughout your term. You're satisfied with the party now, and you're all on good terms.
We're all on good terms. I ain't going anywhere. And listen, this is a building point. There's a lot of other issues, mate, that are very serious. And as my Senate leader, Warwick Stacey, who's running for the Senate in New South Wales, as he said, mate, we've got an immigration crisis, and that is causing us a healthcare crisis. That is causing us many, many, many crises, traffic crises, and housing crises. And it all stems back to that one issue that we are bringing too many people in. You can't bring in 700,000 people a year and expect the system not to implode on itself. And we've got a coal mining area of the valley, and we have another area down along the lake that is absolutely beautiful, Lake Macquarie. And they are just crowding people into the place. It's causing traffic problems. It's causing healthcare shortages, schooling shortages. So there's a lot of issues. And our party is in a key position. There's some polling I've seen as high as 10.5% for our senators, right? Nationwide. So if that holds up, we're looking at getting in 5 senators, which is just unbelievable. So we're getting to the point now where the Liberals are starting to drop votes on their right flank. The further they go to the left, they're not picking up Labor's votes. They're just losing their right flank to us. So them being weak and timid, it's good for us, and we're going to have a long, healthy future as long as the Liberals keep going down this road.
Just finally, we're speaking on the final weekend before the final week of campaigning. It's a busy week. It is, for many, it's going to be make or break. About half of Australia, hasn't voted yet, and we know that a lot will vote during the week. How are you feeling about that campaign? And I'm also just about the final week, and I'm also just interested, what kind of volunteer and ground support are you able to get, which is, of course, especially important when you're not a major party candidate?
Look, we just done up all the booth kits today. We've manned every pre-poll booth with 3, 4, 5 people. Haven't missed a day, haven't missed a booth. There's 7 booths and it's spread out over 7,500 square kilometres. We will man every single booth on the day. And that is important because it's important for the preference flow. So this seat is on a knife's edge. There's some of the minor parties that have preference Labor, but the reality is if you don't get the cards in the people's hands on the ground, the preferences just go all over the place. And so this is going to be anyone's game. You would think that minor parties would be more inclined to preference minor parties before they go to a major party. That's generally the way the trend seems to go. And so there is quite a large agency of minor party votes outside of mine. So this is going to be a very interesting seat to watch. My prediction, if I had to put a 50 on it, you will not see a result in this seat the following week, right after the election. I would say that it's going to be that close. It took them about 10 days last time in 2019 to call the seat. I think this one could be very similar, unless I'm way out on what I'm feeling on the ground. It's feeling very much like it's 2019. There's a lot of cards going out. It's definitely not a red wave, so we're not imagining things. So it is a large field though. So going from where Danny's been polling, they say between 35 and 38. I've seen the polls. Mr. Repacholi. He can win. He can win from 38. From 35, it's very hard. So he doesn't have much margin of error.
I would definitely agree. Look, we're not going to find out on election night, so we will keep following this over the coming weeks. And look, best of luck with the campaign. Really appreciate your time, Stuart Bonds.
If
Thank you
I
very
had to
much.
ask you one question, how do you think it's going to go? We're going to be Labor minor, Liberal
I
minor.
am. I'll just say I tend to jinx a lot of campaigns, so for your benefit, I might not say anything.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.